Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and believers of all ages. It's what is this? For the Lord RPG, yeah, the Christian role playing game. But a big part of my role playing game is creation science and being biblically adherent to that, and I love putting that into the game. So, and here's Dr. Carl Werner. Werner, right? Is that right? Werner.
That's right. W-E-R. Yep. Werner.
So I'm gonna just jump right into this. I got these books. They're kind of a little bit worn too, and they're his books. And Carl, you are a celebrity to me. Okay, you are. So I'm kind of surprised that I'm even doing this. But yeah, this is worn because I homeschooled my daughters, and I read this myself. I love it's pictograph, and it's just easy, quick reads and really understandable and really easy to teach a young kid. And I know you have a curriculum, so we're gonna kind of help quickly go through that. But to me, creation science, just real quick, and then I'm gonna give you the floor. But I'm sort of that apologist guy. I want to, test God's word. I want to question God, when I was becoming a Christian, and the doubt and all that. To me, creation science is so rewarding because it finished off my doubt. It finished off my testing of the Lord and of the word, and exploring creation science was just a joy. And it's a big joy to me now. So, yeah. So, and we're here for, if you want to go into why we're actually talking, what sort of started all this discussion that you and I are going to have right now.
Yeah, it is a joy for me. And this whole project that we've been working on for 27 years has been my joy of testing what should be found in the fossil record, what science should find, and why it does actually line up with what the Bible says.
Yeah.
But I wanted the proof, and I had to have some logical explanation. I didn't want to check my brain at the door, so to speak. And so the books I write, I'm actually writing them for myself, Ron, because I have these genuine questions, and it's like, how could you ever explain this? And once you actually dig deep, get to the fossils, get to the scientists, it all just lays itself out and says there is no evolution. Creation occurred, and there is very little room for argument once you get the facts on that.
This is a dark comedy. I mean, your journey of going through the museums and stuff. This is a black comedy, whatever. It's kind of funny, actually. I mean, what you went through, what you did.
Yeah, and I think if a scientist knew what I had done, when I walk into their office to do the next interview, they should just like, oh my gosh, get out of here, because so many scientists have made these huge claims about walking whales, about ape men. There's just so many, and once you start pulling the layers back, it's just like, did he just say that on camera, where he basically admits that the whole thing was made up? We've done that with walking whales. We've done it with ape men. We've done it with the the supposed feathered dinosaurs. And if you're having fun, I'm having 10 times more fun than you are, because I needed the answers.
It's got to be biblical the way these people are. I mean, you know what I mean? The denial, the progression of their logic falls apart, and they continue with it even as it's falling apart.
Yeah, and you'll see that today when we critique the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles, because they are holding on to ideas that are so old, and yet the museum in Los Angeles, it's a world-class museum. I mean, I've been there, and you photographed fossils for me there. It's equal to, I would say, the American Museum in New York City or the London Museum, as far as quality and the amount of money
Or just
they
the
spend.
size.
The size, and yet it is archaic, it is outdated, it is full of frauds. The Natural History Museum in Los Angeles is a shame to science, and I hope someone on the board there gets this recording and starts fixing these things, because they have information that's been overturned 30 years ago, 50 years ago, and they're still putting it out as real. And it's really a travesty,
So I do the creation tours there, but I only do the dinosaur section. and I quickly run through it. And it still takes an hour, as I'm going through with the kids and stuff, the homeschool groups. So I never went to the mammal or the other sections, and just because they're not going to do this there. And then when the call out was to go and take photos of all of the fossils and everything, I was like, fine, I'll go do it, whatever, and take do the whole thing. And I was like shocked. I didn't know the other sections had so much evolution. They just couldn't stop. It was just kept going on. I was like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was sending them out to these other sections with all this stuff as well. I
And
took all those
for
photos.
the audience, we released a press release. My company did, saying that there's widespread fraud in the museums about 2 months ago. And I asked Ron, would you mind going over to the Los Angeles Natural History Museum and photographing these sections for me so that I could make sure it all lines up with the press release? And so he went over there, he dropped everything and went over there. I don't know how many hours you were there, probably 4 hours if I had to guess. Yeah. And really gave a big piece of himself. So as I'm showing you pictures today from the museum, Ron took them all. And he's the credit for this show, because without that, I wouldn't have the latest version of the Los Angeles Natural History Museum, which is full of frauds and misleading displays. And I want to show you that in just a bit here.
I don't want to. I'm gonna just leave, and you can just do it because I don't want to go through it again.
Sounds good.
But first thing, let's look at your website just to show them, like a quick tour of the website, what you're doing, and all that. I really want everyone to see that.
The website's called thegrandexperiment.com. Thegrandexperiment.com, and the big news was this year we released the 6 more episodes in the miniseries, the television miniseries, the video series, in which we documented 150 frauds carried out by scientists working in the field of human evolution based on our interviews over the last 27 years and based on just 300,000 miles of travel to 5 continents. So if you want to get into something really cool, go to the website and it'll show you how to either order the DVD or watch it online, each episode. But these episode titles are quite fascinating. Like episode 5 is Human Evolution Fraud Carried Out by Scientists Working in North and South America. Now that is quite a title for a show. It's 50 minutes. It goes through all these scientists and how they carried out fraud, big frauds that you've never heard of. And here's another one, Human Evolution Fraud Carried Out by Scientists Working in Africa. Richard Leakey, Louis Leakey, Raymond Dart, all these guys. This is a watershed moment for creation, for all religion that believes in creation, that we now have overturned evolution basically, because this human evolution was the linchpin holding it up. But now even the human evolution, it turns out it was fraudulent. And I'd really encourage you to go there and watch the video series. Also, I want to point out that, because we're not going to come back to this, that we have a 4-semester course on creation. And it's for like 7th grade through college, whatever grade you would be in that range. And the first semester goes through this book that Ron loves so much, Evolution, the Grand Experiment. It's basically a course on creation and paleontology. The second one is, second course is Living Fossils.
I got that one too, yeah.
You got that one too?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And that is a spectacular book showing that the animals during the dinosaur time are modern appearing.
Yeah, that was to me, huh?
I know. Like
what?
Oh my, I know. And that's kind of a course in paleontology. The 3rd semester class is Human Evolution, or you could call it anthropology, but this is our new book, Untold Stories of Human Evolution. And it's basically 2 semesters of anthropology or 2 semesters of human evolution, where we're going through the fossils. And so if anybody's out there that has access to tweaking a teacher or a school system to pick up this 4 semesters
Well, especially
in
homeschool and Christian schools. Yeah.
homeschool and Christian schools. I'm not kidding you. This is very important for your kids. The kids will be vulnerable if they don't learn this material, because once they go off to college, their professors will start throwing out all this information that's wrong with a lot of big names attached. And if they're not ready,
Yeah.
yeah, so this would be very important. And it sounds like you taught your daughter.
Daughters. Yeah. I want to just say the biggest part of this and what you've shown and with evidence after evidence after evidence for kids is man will lie to you. They will lie to you. And when you understand that as a child, that is actually a good thing to know that man will lie. They will they will create stories and lie to you, and they will believe their lies. And when you can teach kids that, they then become critical and then analytical from a young age. And that's what I did. I taught them that, and that's what I do at my tours. I make sure they know that a big building means nothing if they don't honor God in there. They're going to lie to you. And I tell them the Bible. I want kids to know man will lie to you. Adults will lie to you.
Yes, especially
it's a powering
scientists,
thing,
and especially scientists who believe in evolution. The ones I've met, most of them are atheists. And atheist means that they don't necessarily have to follow a moral code. They can.
They don't. Yeah.
But
they can also remove it whenever they need to.
Remove it for their own self. And Christians can do that too. But but
it's wrong for us to do it. When they do it, it's okay.
Right. That is true. And that's why their colleagues don't call them out on it, because they're telling lies too. So this is going to be an embarrassing video for the Los Angeles Natural History Museum staff. I hope someone forwards this link to them and that they clean up their actor, because it's what I'm going to show you is a disaster. Alrighty, should we go to the tour that I'm going to give you of what's wrong with the museum? I just put this together as just some photos that Ron took. I didn't put them in a Zoom call, so it's a little bit roughened. I'm just going to show you the pictures, but the message is not roughened. So when you go to the Los Angeles Natural History Museum or any natural history museum, because I've been to 104 and filmed them all, you would see a scene like this of dinosaurs, and it looks like a strange and unusual time because there's no modern animals with the dinosaurs. And like another, oops, hold on just a second. And if you also were at the museum, you would see this sign. It says, "What was the dinosaur world like?" It says, "It was an unfamiliar scene." In other words, it was strange animals, strange plants. And if all animals and plants changed since the time of the dinosaurs, that would mean evolution occurred. See, creation would expect that all animals were created at the same time, humans, dogs, cats and dinosaurs, and they all lived together. And so creation would teach that animals went extinct like dinosaurs, but it didn't change from one animal group to a different animal group. Everything was the together at the beginning, and then the dinosaurs went extinct. That's what creation teaches. But evolution teaches that during the time of the dinosaurs, there were no modern animals living there. But they would say that the age of the mammals came in after the dinosaurs. But all three of these pictures were misleading. Now, I don't know if anybody in the audience can spot what's wrong with this picture from the Los Angeles Natural History Museum. What is wrong? Because there's something profoundly wrong with this picture and the previous slides I showed you. What's wrong is that all that information was a lie. In fact, the dinosaurs lived with many, many modern animals, and you can find them next to the dinosaurs. In other words,
The fossils,
they have found, Yeah, as fossils. In other words, they have found dinosaurs. These are hadrosaurs. I'm guessing that's up from Dinosaur Provincial Park in Canada. But the the dinosaurs lived with boa constrictors. Now, do you see a boa constrictor in this picture? The dinosaurs lived with ducks. Do you see a duck in this picture? The dinosaurs have been found with penguin fossils. Do you see a penguin here? The dinosaurs have been found with possums. Do you see a possum here? It goes on and on and on. So for the mammals, they found the duck-billed platypus, they found the possum, and they found the hedgehog, and other fossils like squirrel-like teeth. For the reptiles, they have found the alligator group, which would be alligators, crocodiles, and gavials, with the dinosaurs as fossils. For the amphibian group, the dinosaurs have been found with frogs and salamanders, the amphibians that live today. They have been found with all of the other invertebrate groups like corals and sponges and the modern types of fish. So this picture is very misleading, and they need to paint in or put into all their displays the modern animals with them. If you saw a duck here and you saw a boa constrictor and you saw an albatross and a sandpiper and other modern animals, if you saw the possum, you would just say to yourself, oh, dinosaurs went extinct. But by leaving out the modern animals, they create they being the evolution scientists and the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles, they create the illusion of evolution, saying, no, dinosaurs lived in the past and now mammals live today. In fact, 432 species of mammals have been found with dinosaurs. And you can get that list out of my book, Living Fossils. 432 species of mammals have been found with dinosaurs. Now, these aren't lions and things like giraffes like that. They're smaller mammals, but there's enough that appear modern. And with all the other modern animals, it appears that they have misled the children, they, meaning this museum staff, and made it necessary that you would have to believe in evolution by their diagrams. And I think that's terrible, you know. So that's my dinosaur display. I want to move on to their walking whale display. And this one is fantastic. And nobody knows this except Carl Werner and about 3 or 4 scientists, because I have lived this through the interviews and this whole story. But you, as consumers, as museum goers to the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles, you are being misled by this display. So here it is. This animal, called Pachycetus, is supposed to be a walking whale, and whales once had legs, and here is a whale that once had legs. Its name is Pachycetus. And this was a bogus story from 1983, and I want to explain this. Just remember this, that whales once had legs. Here's the same display at the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles. Here's Pachycetus. It walked like it had cloven feet. Here's the real story about this. This fossil called Pachycetus was found in 1983. Here's a cover of Science. It was big news. And the scientist, Dr. Gingrich, who we interviewed, found this little gray fossil. See that little piece in the skull there, Ron?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah. And this little piece here and these teeth here. That's all he found.
That's a whale.
That's what he said. He said that's a whale. And he then created this diagram. And I want to point out why this looks whale-like. It has paddled feet and it has a blowhole. The blowhole is not like the tip of the nostrils at the tip of like a dog's nose. The blowhole's up on top. And see, it has a partially evolved blowhole. And look here, instead of the eyes being on top of the skull, like a dog, the eye sockets are on the side of the skull, like
as in they moved them there, or they drew them there.
Yeah. he drew them. All he had was this little gray fossil, and these four teeth. That's all he had. He created this and made himself famous and got on the cover of Science magazine. By the way, this is from my book 1, 3rd edition. He then, from this, he created this skull. He filled in the dots. And again, he puts the blowhole on top. The eyes are on the side. And he is famous until something very bad happened. This was 1983. Then it was very bad because I forget the year, they found this animal. And this animal is this animal. And you'll notice this is a land mammal. I mean, it's a straight land mammal. If you'll notice now, I mean, this should look exactly like this if he was right. But now the eyes are on top of the skull like a land animal. They're not on the side like a whale. Now the nostrils are at the tip of the skull like a land animal, not on the top like a whale. And he doesn't have flippers. He has just regular land animal feet. So we went from this to this. And now this is what the Smithsonian says he looks like, which is like a wolf.
Right.
And so that is very bad, because unless you knew about all those interviews and how he morphed this thing from just a couple fragments to this, you would have no idea that this whole story was made up.
Yeah. The what he did got a cover, but the new stuff is not going to get a cover. It's just going to get a small article somewhere, right, or something like that.
Yeah, and small article. And here's the Los Angeles Natural History Museum still promoting it as a whale with legs. You see that?
Oh,
that is terrible.
Yeah.
This should have come down in 1993 once they found the full skeleton.
Right.
And it's really odd that they have this over here, but then you go to a different area of the museum and here's the skeleton, and this thing doesn't look like a whale at all. It is not a whale.
Right.
Oh, shoot. That's another error of the Natural History Museum. And I'm going to do one more. I'm going to switch screens here. And we're going to go to their human evolution.
I didn't know they even had this. This was in the far corner in the back.
Yes.
And when I saw it, I'm like, whoa, no.
Yeah. So I found this picture you took, Ron, very interesting. It's going to show you human evolution, starting with an ape-sized brain, and it's going to go over here, about 8 skulls over here to the right, it's off screen, to a human skull. And at each stage, the skull is going to get bigger, okay?
You do like that.
Here, you took that picture, and here's the other side of it. Okay, do you catch that? These are the first 4,
Yeah.
and here's the last, 3 or whatever. And it goes through and it tells you that, the humans have brains of 1,200, and this one has a brain of 900, this one has a brain of 750, and they tell you this story that the brain size is getting bigger over time, which is all made up. And the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles needs to take this whole display down and nuke it. This is terrible. So I'll just show you what is real. Yes, they did find this animal, Australopithecus africanus, and it does have a brain of around 485. That's ape size.
Is the black part the actual, like, what's the black and then the not black part? Do you know?
That's a good part. That's a very good question. Black means it's missing. But if I photographed this skull, the original, and it's a very complete skull. This overly states it, but this is a beautiful, complete skull. And I have no problems with this skull because it's whole.
The original, yeah. Okay.
The original. This one also, I photographed the original, and I don't have a problem with it. Well, no, I do have a problem with it because this one is also has a fraudulent basis, because this one, do you see the black here?
Uh-huh.
He being Louis Leakey and Mary Leakey, pulled the face and pushed it back, because it looks like a gorilla, but they pushed this mid face back to make it flatter, so they would make it look like human. And you can see that in our episode 7, I think, on human evolution fraud in Africa.
Right.
But I'm going to stick with the brain sizes. 485, which is chimp size, 525, which is chimp size, and then here we go, Homo habilis, 590 cc's. And now we're making the jump, and this is bigger than a chimp, okay? But you know that this is a bogus fossil? I want to show you what it looked like when it was found. Prepare for this one. This is what it looked like. It was a crushed, fragmented, and this is what they did with it. They put plaster in there. But how do you know they put that much plaster? It could have been a lot less. And see, this is a very interpreted thing that if you are going to say now it has a 590 cc brain, you're interpreting this because you had to pull all these pieces up and put in a bunch of plaster. So this is a terrible fossil to make that claim that this is progressing up to 590 cc's. Now they do have one nearly perfect Homo habilis skull. Of course, they don't put that one in the display. Why? Because it is too small. It's very small. It's the size of a chimpanzee. See, Homo habilis was supposed to be the intermediate between humans and apes. And chimps have a brain about 500, humans have a brain about 1,000, and Homo habilis was supposed to be 600 or 700. But here's the most complete Homo habilis skull. This is the one they should have on display. And guess what? It's only 510 cc's. It's the same size as the other two. So it's 485, 525, 510, and all of a sudden you have a big gap now going to the next one and no progression here. But see, they're billing this as progression of brain size. Now, if you go over to the right here, this one is also fraudulently changed. And you can see that in our movie. They altered the photograph. They were able to pull the face, push the face flat like his father did. This is Richard Leakey doing it. And the skull is supposed to be 750 cc's, and yet you can take a brain cast of the very first, of the second one we showed you way back there, and take that brain cast and it fits perfectly into this skull. So this is really another 525, 530 cc. And now they have this big gap because it's going to go from 500 to 800 and to this typical human size of 1200. The other thing is they failed to tell you that human skulls are not 1200 cc's, every one of them. They go down, human skulls go down to the high 500s, all the way up to 2200. See, they just pick out one skull that fits really. They're picking out skulls that they want to make this argument. And this is a terrible display. It should be criticized by everybody living in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously displaying a way that, look, it's progressing.
Yeah.
We have no proof of that progression because
Right.
Yeah, the modern human has a huge variety of sizes.
Huge variety, yes. Right. Okay, so I'm just going to have to clean up this screen here just a little bit here. And
my little silly note is sometimes they say apes use tools. It's another proof of their evolution. And I'm like, well, termites build cities, so we must have evolved from termites.
That's right. And
so
and birds use tools.
Right.
You know, they'll drop rocks into water to raise the water level. They'll use a little stick to do things. If you use that as a criteria, no.
Ants farm, so we must have come from ants. You know.
That's right. Your great grandfather was an ant, a big red one. Here's another misleading display in the same section at the Los Angeles Natural History Museum. They say Lucy walked upright. She walked upright, and one of the arguments is that Lucy bones were found next to these human footprints in the place called Laetoli, Tanzania. But this is a fraudulent idea because in here they say that the Lucy-type bones were found at Laetoli. And that's what Dr. Johansen, who discovered Lucy, has been telling everybody. Well, who else could have made these footprints in Laetoli, Tanzania, since the Lucy-type bones are the only animal that's found there as fossils? Who else could have made it? And when Debbie and I filmed the show, I think it's episode 6, about the frauds from the scientists working in United States who had committed human evolution fraud, we found out that a human skull was found next to these footprints, not next to it, but in this site called Laetoli. And they have denied that information to the public. That would be the most important piece of information, that there was a human skull found here, but Dr. Johansen stated that there was not any other animals besides the Lucy type. But yet Debbie and I, when we filmed the fossils in Laetoli, the Laetoli fossils in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam at the National Museum with the former...
They had them all logged there, all the fossils they found.
Say it again.
They have them all logged there, is what you're saying.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And the first 17 are Lucy-type fossils, but the 18th one, which is found at Laetoli, Laetoli hominid 18, is a human skull. And that fact has been kept from the public, and I think that's shameful. This museum should take this display down too. And then finally, I'm going to close with this little mini tour of the Los Angeles Natural History Museum, of how they see who's related to who as far as which fossils. And because this picture isn't a close-up on here, it gets a little grainy, but you're just gonna have to take my interpretation of what the words are saying here. But this is Sahalensis tashadensis, and this is Australopithecus afarensis and Homo habilis, which we just saw. And this would say that this animal, maybe something like it evolved into this animal, and maybe this animal then evolved into this one, and this one became this one, and then
probable relationships, yeah, the dotted
probable
lines.
relationships. But unless you did interviews for the last 27 years all over the world and traveled all these 300,000 miles, you wouldn't know anything was wrong with this display. And this one, you're going to have to take my word for this until you watch the last 4 episodes in our video series, because I lay these fossils out in this video series. And I'm going to show you which ones have fraud associated with them. Here it is. All those have fraud associated with them. Here's episode 8 from our show. Here's episode 5 from our show. This is, by the way, the museum mislabeled this fossil. They labeled this afarensis. It should be africanus, I believe, is what they're thinking. This Homo habilis had 4 frauds associated with it by Dr. Tobias. This one by Dr. Leakey, he fraudulently altered the photograph and fraudulently flattened the face of Rudolfensis. Neanderthal was fraudulently altered 4 different ways by the scientists who found it in France. He described it, Marcel and Boule, in 1908. There was 4 frauds associated with this one. This one is Robert Brain's 2 frauds. He said it did not look like a gorilla, but it actually, if you lay it on top of a gorilla, it looks exactly like a gorilla. Or not exactly, but really close. Yeah. And he also doubled the brain size for this one. And this one, the brain size was doubled by Dr. Dart Africanus. And Boise, that was Dr. Louis Leakey's frauds, where he changed the position of the face and said the face was human-like. It is not human-like. It's gorilla-like with the big cheeks, the big crest, Yeah. And they need to take this display down too.
I like how they have here those lines. The dashed line is inferred species range, and the dotted line is probable relationships. So they're covering themselves by telling you these are not facts, but they're obviously presenting this like it is a fact. But they're yet saying And then the
And I'm,
species range is, I guess, an absolute fact, but then the lines don't really go anywhere. So there's nothing even there when they say that that's a fact, you know, the
yeah,
two at the bottom there.
yeah, and by the way, the dates are fraudulent too. Like this one, this is a
7
fraudulent
million
date.
years ago.
Yeah, because you know what? You know how this scientist, his name is Michel Brunet. He's in Paris. We interviewed him about this recently discovered hot topic, new ape man, the oldest ape man ever found. He said it was 7 million years old. And we said, you know, how do you know it's 7 million years old? Well, I found it in a rock layer. Okay, follow it. The skull is in a rock layer in Chad, North Africa. And the skull had to be dug out of the rock layer. Okay, got that. And then they dated the rock layer, which, by the way, doesn't work. It's notoriously inaccurate.
Right.
And it came out to be 7 million years old. 6 to 7 million years old is what he said on camera and in the literature. And his partner said that was all made up. And he provided pictures of when this fossil was found. The pictures he provided were taken about an hour or two after the skull was found. And this skull was not found in rock, it was found laying on the sand. And in the Jurab Desert in Chad, all the fossils are just strewn out like if it was Saudi Arabia or something. You know, it's the Jurab Desert just has the fossils just laying on top of the sand. You can't.
They're being exposed from erosion. They're being exposed.
And yeah, well, no, I don't know how they got on top of the sand, but you know, it's just a desert, and there's all these extinct animals laying on top of the sand, like maybe a Noah's flood kind of a thing, you know. But the fact is that he did not date it at 7 million years old because he couldn't, because it wasn't found in a rock layer. And so that's the level of fraud in these fossils. And the Los Angeles Natural History Museum needs to take this whole display down also.
You know, in my creation tour, I've been trying to figure out a way to explain dating methods, and I want you to critique me on this. I do, let me see if I can switch just to give us back to normal.
You want to go screen share again?
No, I'll just move my family photo here out of the way. Okay, so I do a thing called an ice cream analogy where I say the way they do dating methods is like ice cream. Ice cream on the porch and ice cream in the freezer. And they're going to use the ice cream in the freezer as their dating method as opposed to the ice cream on the porch. Because, you know, so they can easily get millions of years out of that. And so to me, the ice cream on the... I'm messing this up here. To me, ice cream on the porch is... what we see out in the fossil record, but they're using the ice cream in the freezer as in dating things in their laboratories to get the number they want to then put it on the ice cream out on the porch. So when you see melted ice cream on the porch, they're going to say, hey, that's millions of years old because, you know, they're comparing it to ice cream you have in the freezer.
Yeah,
even though it was like a day old.
Yeah, I think that's a great analogy. And that would be one critique, you know, how fast it's melting kind of a thing to date it. And there are actually many other critiques that are as serious as what you just mentioned, and you could see some of these in my book 3 and book 4. For example, this one fossil we just discussed, Homo rudolfensis, 1470, it was dated about 25 times, okay? And there was argument how old it was. And each time the scientists dated it using this dating technique, radiometric dating, each scientist would come up with a different result. Now, they wanted it to be like 2 million years old, okay? So the first result was it was 210 million years old. What? And next one was, no, it's 218 million years old. What? It's supposed to be 2. Next one was, you know, it's 8 million years old. No. Next one, and I'm just making these numbers up, but they're close to what's in the book here. And each time they said, we know it's this this age because we got this level of confidence. It's 3 million years old plus or minus 30,000 years. Well, then it has to be within that range. But the next scientist would come in with another date that was outside of that, and the next scientist would do another date that would come outside of that. And they finally decided, as a group, we're going to decide that it's 2 million years old. See, that's not science. That's not repeatable.
Right.
There are so many criticisms of the dating. I don't believe any of the dates, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know. 4,500 years. I'll give them 4,500 years.
Exactly. We went to New Zealand to a carbon-14 dating lab. And this is also in our book, I think it's in book 3 or 4 of it. We interviewed this Dr. Bevans, and she worked at the isotope lab in New Zealand where they date fossils. And it was the most interesting interview. And you can read the interview. She said this during the interview. I went to this lake that's, an active lake right now, and I set out traps. And I caught a duck and 2 rats. And then I euthanized the animals. In other words, she killed them. And then she carbonized them. In other words, she burnt them to get them down to just carbon. And then I tested their age. Now, if you just caught a duck and you tested its age, what age would you think a duck range could be if you just caught it and it was live like 15 minutes ago,
2 million years old.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, a duck could only be like 25 years old at the most, maybe, most of them are 5 or something. And same with the rat, a couple of years, maybe 10, maybe 25, but that's it. But anyway, during this interview, she says, after carbonizing them, then I tested them, and one rat came out to be 1,500 years old, and the other rat turned out to be, 100 years old.
Oh, like they're doing carbon dating, yeah.
All doing carbon dating. But see, that makes no sense, and it means your whole system doesn't work.
Right.
And then she said the duck that we tested, it was like 1,500 years old. So in other words, you can't even date things that are, that you just killed and come up with the right number.
Right.
So the systems just do not work. Everybody should just put that away.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is awesome. I'm going to just emphasize this is a great, I think this is a read with your kid in the bed at night, because there's so many images, and then they're quick little blurbs, and they're pretty, it's dark comedy, or not dark, whatever. It's kind of funny. So I think this is a really good read to have, and it really helps them to learn that these people will lie right out, right out in the open. And when kids know that, then I think that gives them the strength and courage to question authority, I want kids to question their own pastors, or youth pastors as well.
Question everybody.
Yeah. And have and know that we adults can lie. And to me, that's an empowering, wonderful thing, not a bad thing at all. So
that is empowering, yeah. Ron. I'm going to show you, if you don't mind, I'd like to show you our 2 human evolution books that just came out.
Yeah, I'm going to order those. I haven't ordered those yet. Those look so dense though, right? Those are you're going deep dive into those, right?
No, this is a fun, like this book here called Volume 3, Untold Stories.
Right.
It's 5 little short stories. That's all it is. They're only about 40 pages long, and it maybe take you about 20 minutes to read because there's like 900 pictures in here.
Right, yeah. And quick reads,
and they just read as stories, and you find the most fascinating thing that I'm sorry, let me try and show you some of the pictures here. All of the
you're really thorough with that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All of the ape men that were covered in this book, there's 5 ape men, were all made out of ordinary mammals. In other words, these were ape men made out of like a dog, a cat, a pig, dolphin bones, raccoon bones, horse, I don't know if I said donkey, hippo, and some of them mix many of them together to make one 8-man. So it's a really fun read,
Right.
and you can read this in about 3 hours. And I really encourage the kids and parents of, anybody that has kids in school, teach this as anthropology class, okay? And then this last one, which we just released with the video series, goes over the 150 frauds, and it's called 9 Categories of Overturned 8-Men. I was going to show you the inside again. And it just goes through, and it shows the newspaper articles and what scientists were saying at that time, and then it shows you the reality afterwards. And then we have all of my wife's wonderful photos of the skulls, and you can just make comparisons after you've been taught about what to look for,
Right.
So that's on your to-do list, Ron.
Yeah. Oh no, that's a fun list. Yeah. I enjoyed those ones. I keep them near just to have them as a reference.
Me too.
It was great that my daughter, when she went, I homeschooled her, but then she had to go back to high school for team sports here in California because they don't care about homeschoolers. But she's sending me. I remember her sending me back a picture and a text. And oh, look, Dad, more drawings, because I told her they always have to draw evolution. They can never take it's never a photo. It's always a drawing. And she goes, look, Dad, more drawings of the evolution stuff. And just like rolling her eyes at it, all of it, So.
Oh man, you taught her good.
Yeah.
And yeah, once the kids can get the information, they're just happy to process it and use it against their friends.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Carl Werner, for doing this. And well, because you owe me, I guess, because I took the pictures for you.
I do owe you 4 hours of your life, and you dropped everything. Really.
Yeah. But I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate what you're doing, obviously. So yeah. Any last words, and then we'll just end it here. That's great.
All I do is I just beg the parents to get started on the curriculum like Ron did. Go through these 4 books, and they will be ready for the world. They'll be ready for the professors, for their teachers. Without this preparation, they're going to be like naked going into college with no prep, and they'll be like me. I got sucked into it all. I didn't have any information. So please, please, please get this information to your kids. And if you're in charge of a school system or in charge of a Catholic or Christian or Muslim school, please, get them to implement this 4-semester curriculum for the kids. It's our only real hope,
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. God bless.
All right. God bless.
Thank you.
Bye.